So The Surfer was directed by Lorcan Finnegan and it stars Nicolas Cage as the surfer. He's a man who was a surfer in his younger days and he's bringing his son to go surf and such, but they encounter some locals who say if you don't live here, you can't surf here. So we have this psychological thriller involving Nicolas Cage trying to surf. So this is a movie that I saw a preview for. I'm like, I guess that could be interesting. I guess I'll catch that whenever it hits a streaming service or something like that. And I was actually surprised that this movie was playing at a theater near me. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I'll go see it. And no matter what, Nicolas Cage, good, bad, so bad it's good, so good it's bad. No matter what, Nicolas Cage, whatever role he takes on in whatever movie he does, it's always going to be kind of fascinating. Whether it's like him just going absolutely insane in various movies and such, or it's just going to be one of those unique experiences no matter what. And I felt like The Surfer was probably going to be no different. And if you're a Nicolas Cage fan, this movie is heaven for you. He is fantastic in this movie. I'll get into a lot of this movie. First off, let's talk about what I do like about this movie. Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage. That's all I gotta say. Well, I'm gonna say more. Nicolas Cage. He goes all the way with this role. I think he's fantastic. I think like the fact that throughout the movie he's just constantly questioning everything. I feel like his performance is very fantastic. I think it's fantastic. He carries it. Julian McMahon, who is the villain of this movie, he's also pretty good in this movie. Not as good as Nicolas Cage, but Nicolas Cage is also kind of giving it all. Julian McMahon is kind of like more reserved, but you also kind of know he's kind of like very, very evil and such. I do think his character is at least subtly evil. And as far as like a bunch of the locals go, a lot of them do a pretty good job at being really creepy and really disturbing. I didn't get most of their names, but I'm like they were all pretty fantastic in this movie. The cinematography itself is also really well done. A lot of the colors are very bright and very sunny, and it's like very much against like what the movie is like because this movie is so unnerving at times that you're just like it's so weird because like a thriller would normally have darker colors, but this movie has a lot of bright colors. Most of it does take place during the day, and it's just very unsettling. There is an old school vibe to this movie that I felt was also kind of unique. It was very dreamlike watching this movie. Times I couldn't tell. It's like, what am I watching? Is this like actually happening, or is this just kind of like a fantasy? The score itself also really does help. It does kind of like echo like things you. I kind of feel like this is kind of like music I would hear if I was like on a beach. I was like relaxing at times, but there's just something underneath where you're like, this is just very unsettling. This is just a nightmare. This movie is very uneasy. It's very unpredictable, and I do think that actually helps the movie a lot. You kind of like you're definitely in Nick Cage's headspace where you're like kind of wondering like what is going on, and like I don't understand like why these things are kind of just happening and such. And you do feel like you're kind of like trapped with this character throughout this entire movie. It's very unpredictable. You kind of just don't know what's happening. There were times where I'm watching this movie, I'm thinking, is this where this movie's going? And thankfully, I was like, okay, it doesn't go in that direction. I'm actually glad it doesn't go in that direction. And it kind of goes in a direction where it's definitely very unique. I do think that the main theme overall about toxic masculinity is kind of prevalent throughout this movie. And I do think it is kind of an interesting way to do it. But I have some issues with like how it's actually kind of handled, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. So let's get into the cons. Let's talk about that quickly because I'm just bringing that up now. It is kind of a fascinating idea to talk about, and there are definitely aspects that are kind of shown in this movie as like, okay, this is why this is really bad and such. I feel like they didn't go far enough at times, and I wish they kind of pushed it a little bit more. It's just surface level, I would say. Also, there are a couple dropped characters, some dropped storylines I felt like could have easily been picked up a little bit more. Like Nick Cage's son is on. He disappears in the movie, and it's not really entirely explained like where he's going or what he's done. And it's like, where did he go? And he does come back, and I'm like, okay. Again, that could go back into like the whole dreamlike sequence where you're kind of like unsure about what is happening. And there are a couple other storylines in this movie that are kind of dropped. Something involving a character from Nick Cage's past, which is like it's kind of mentioned briefly. It's like, okay, where are they going with this? They're literally going nowhere. Again, could be alluding to the dreamlike sequence where you kind of don't know what's happening. And also, Nick Cage's actions in this movie, I feel like they're going to turn off a lot of people. They may turn off a lot of people. And also the fact like this is why he's kind of stuck there and why he's doing all the things that he's doing and such. And you understand why he's there, but you're also thinking, dude, just give up. Like, just move on at this point. Like, I feel like this movie is going to hinge on the fact that Nick Cage is kind of not really the brightest character, and that his character is very. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's very determined for this reason, but at the same time, I'm thinking, dude, just move on. Like, get over it. Like, this is not gonna work. Like, give up. And also, I think the last 10 to 15 minutes of this movie are, I don't want to say they're unnecessary, but it's kind of like they're trying to have its cake and eat it too. Like, at first I was like, okay, there was like a moment in the movie where it's like, okay, this is where I feel like it's ending and such. And it's like, this would actually match the ending pretty well. It's very intense, it's very dreamlike, it's very trippy, it's very weird and such. And it's only could be in a Nick Cage movie. And it kind of matches what they were kind of talking about with the whole toxic masculinity angle of this movie. About it's kind of like about giving into madness, which I also thought was kind of interesting. But then the movie kind of cheats itself a little bit and says, the only way to stop the madness is to give in to the madness. And I'm like, I can see what you're going for, but it was just a little too. It felt like the last 10, 15 minutes also just dragged the movie out for a bit. And I'm like, I don't want it to. I just want this movie to kind of end at this point. And that was kind of disappointing because I was invested for like the other 90 or so minutes of this movie. I felt like the last 10 to 15 minutes of it were just, I don't want to say unnecessary, but like it's kind of like an alternative ending to this movie. And I felt like either one would have worked really well. And I just feel like the first ending kind of worked a little bit more. So The Surfer, if you are a Nick Cage fan, this is Nick Cage heaven. He is fantastic. He's insane. He's intense. His character, very fascinating, although dumb. The other actors do a fantastic job. It looks absolutely gorgeous. The music is great. The uneasy feeling and unpredictable nature of the movie help the movie a lot. The toxic masculinity angle is very fascinating as well, even though I feel like there are times where like they could have pushed this a little bit more. And also the character lines, the storylines could have been developed a little bit more. The choices of Nicolas Cage's character, I'm like, dude, come on. And again, the last 15 minutes or so, maybe like 10, 15 minutes, drag the movie for a bit and kind of feel like an alternative ending rather than like the actual ending. But this is still a fascinating movie. If you're a Nick Cage fan, again, see this movie. I'll give The Surfer 3 out of 4 stars. See it. So, what is your favorite Nicolas Cage performance? Not necessarily movie, but performance. Comment down below. Subscribe to the channel. This is Pat. Stay safe.